The morning sun shined softly through the window of a small house at the edge of town. Mira stood near the kitchen sink, washing dishes while her 7-year-old daughter Lila sat at the table drawing pictures. Life had never been easy for Mira. After losing her husband in an accident years ago, she had learned to survive with strength and patience. She worked part-time at a local store and spent every free moment with her daughter. Lila was the heart of her world, a bright and cheerful child who always tried to make her mother smile. That morning felt ordinary until the mail arrived. The postman handed Mira a large brown envelope with no return address. The paper looked old and the ink on her name had faded slightly. Mira wiped her hands and opened it carefully. Inside was a folded letter with an official-looking seal. Her eyes moved across the page and her hands began to tremble. The letter was from a law firm located in another city. It said that a distant relative named Elias Marin, whom she had never met, had passed away and left behind property in her name. The property was an island, small and remote, located a few miles off the coast. The lawyer requested Mira to visit the office to discuss the inheritance. Mira was confused. She had never heard of any relative named Elias Marin. Her parents had died long ago, and she had grown up believing she had no family left. The idea of owning an island felt strange and almost unreal. Still, something about the letter made her curious. She showed it to Lila, who looked at it with wide eyes. "An island, Mama? Like in the stories?" Lila said excitedly. Mira smiled at her daughter's joy. "Maybe, but we should first find out if this is even true." 2 days later, they took a bus to the nearby city where the law firm was located. The office was in an old building made of stone and glass. Inside, they met a kind man named Mr. Harlan, the lawyer who handled the case. He wore round glasses and spoke gently. He explained that Elias Marin had been an old explorer who lived most of his life away from people. He had no children or close family, and after his death, his last will revealed that the island was to go to Mira. Mira listened carefully. "Are you sure this is right?" "I don't know him," she said. Mr. Harlan nodded. "Yes, it is correct. We traced the family records. You are the only living descendant. The island is not large, but it has an old house and some land. It may need repair, but it is yours now." He handed her the island's map, a set of keys and legal papers confirming her ownership. Mira felt nervous but thankful. Life had been hard for her and Lila, and maybe this was a new chance for them. When they left the office, Lila held her mother's hand tightly. "Can we go there, Mama?" "I want to see it," Mira hesitated. The idea of going to an unknown island seemed risky, but something inside her whispered that it was important. Maybe this was fate's way of changing their lives. A week later, they packed their bags and took a ferry that sailed across the wide blue sea. The wind was strong, and waves brushed against the sides of the boat. Lila leaned over the railing, watching seagulls fly above the water. Mira stood behind her, holding her tightly so she would not fall. The journey took nearly 2 hours before the island appeared in the distance. It looked quiet and green, surrounded by rocky cliffs and trees that grew tall near the shore. As the ferry approached, Mira saw a wooden dock and a narrow path leading toward a hill. On top of the hill stood an old house made of gray stone. The roof was partly broken, and vines grew over the walls. It looked lonely but still beautiful in its own way. When they reached the dock, the boatman helped them unload their luggage. He was an old man with a weathered face. "Be careful, ma'am," he said. "Not many people come here. They say the island has its own secrets." Mira smiled politely, thinking he was only trying to scare them. She thanked him and helped Lila carry the bags. Together they walked up the narrow path until they reached the house. The air smelled of salt and pine trees. The sound of waves could be heard even from the hilltop. Inside the house, everything was covered in dust. The furniture was old and some windows were broken. A portrait hung above the fireplace showing a man with a calm but mysterious face. The name below the painting read, Elias Marin. Mira stared at the picture for a long moment, trying to find some memory or connection, but there was none. They spent the rest of the day cleaning. Lila found an old wooden box under a table. It was locked, but Mira put it aside, thinking she would open it later. As evening came, they lit candles and ate the small meal they had brought. The sky outside turned orange and pink, and the sea shimmered in the light. After dinner, Mira stepped outside to breathe in the cool air. She looked around and saw the forest that surrounded the back of the house. The trees looked thick and old. There was a strange quietness about them, like they were hiding something. She turned back to check on Lila, who was already asleep on a small bed they had cleaned. Later that night, when the moon rose, Mira woke up to a faint sound. It was like whispering carried by the wind. She thought it might be the sea, but it sounded too close. She got up, took a lantern, and walked to the main room. The sound came from near the fireplace. She looked around and noticed that one of the floorboards was slightly raised. Curious, she knelt down and touched it. The board moved easily, revealing a dark space beneath. Inside, she found an old notebook wrapped in cloth. She opened it slowly and saw the same name written on the first page, Elias Marin. The handwriting was neat but old. The first line said, "If you are reading this, then the island has chosen you. There is something beneath its ground that must never be forgotten." Mira's heart beat faster. She looked toward the portrait on the wall again. The man's painted eyes seemed to watch her. She closed the notebook and whispered softly, "What have I walked into?" The wind outside grew stronger, making the windows rattle. The sea roared louder and the candles flickered. Mira held the notebook close to her chest. She did not yet understand what Elias Marin meant, but deep inside she felt that the island was not just an inheritance. It was a mystery waiting to be uncovered, and somehow she and her little girl were now a part of it. The morning sun rose over the island, turning the sea gold and bright. Mira woke up early, her mind still full of questions from the night before. The old notebook she had found under the floorboard rested on the table beside her. She touched its cover gently and opened it again. The pages smelled of age and salt. The handwriting was elegant but hard to read. The words spoke of things she did not understand. Elias Marin had written about the island as if it were alive. He mentioned a place called the Heart Chamber and said it was hidden deep beneath the old house. He warned that the island protected something valuable and dangerous. Mira frowned as she read. She wondered what he meant by, "The island has chosen you." While she read, Lila woke up and rubbed her eyes. "Good morning, Mama," she said, smiling sleepily. Mira smiled back. "Good morning, sweetheart. Did you sleep well?" Lila nodded and climbed down from the bed. "Yes, but I heard something last night. It sounded like someone walking outside." Mira froze for a moment. She did not want to scare her daughter, so she said softly, "Maybe it was the wind or the trees." But inside, she knew that what Lila heard might have been real. The island felt too silent, too watchful. They spent the morning exploring more of the house. Most of the rooms were empty except for a few old pieces of furniture and paintings. Dust covered everything and cobwebs hung in corners. Yet there was a sense of history everywhere. It felt like the walls still held the memories of whoever had lived there before. In one of the smaller rooms, they found a bookshelf filled with old journals and maps. Many of the books were written by Elias Marin. They contained drawings of the island, sketches of strange plants, and symbols that Mira had never seen before. Some pages described a hidden underground passage that led to something called the core of the island. Lila loved looking at the maps. "Mama, look at this," she said, pointing to a small mark drawn in red near the forest's edge. "Maybe it's treasure." Mira smiled at her daughter's excitement. "Maybe. We can go see it after lunch." They ate a simple meal together and then packed a small bag with water and a flashlight. The air outside was warm and fresh. The forest near the back of the house looked dense but not dangerous. Birds sang in the branches above and sunlight passed through the leaves. They followed the path shown on the old map. It led them downhill through thick bushes and tall grass. After about 20 minutes of walking, they reached a clearing. In the center stood a large stone covered in moss. It looked ancient and had strange carvings on its surface. Lila touched it carefully. "It feels cold," she said. Mira brushed away some moss and saw the same symbol that appeared in Elias Marin's notebook. It looked like a circle surrounded by small lines, almost like a sun. Beneath it were words carved in faded letters. "Only the true air may open the path." Mira did not understand what it meant, but as she stood there, a gentle wind passed through the trees. The air grew still afterward, and for a moment everything felt different. It was as if the island was listening. Suddenly, Lila noticed something shining near the bottom of the stone. It was a small metal ring fixed into the ground. Mira knelt beside it and pulled carefully. The ring lifted, revealing a square opening covered by a wooden hatch. Dust and leaves fell aside, showing dark steps leading downward. Lila's eyes widened. "Mama, is that a tunnel?" Mira nodded slowly. "Yes, but we should be careful. She used the flashlight to look down. The stairs seemed to go deep underground. The air below smelled old and damp. Mira hesitated for a moment but then took Lila's hand. "Stay close to me," she said. They stepped down one stair at a time. The deeper they went, the cooler it became. The tunnel walls were made of stone, and roots hung from the ceiling. After a few minutes, they reached a small chamber. It had a table, some broken jars, and an old lantern. On the far wall there was another carving, the same symbol again. Mira placed her hand on the carving. For a second she felt a faint vibration, as if the stone itself was alive. Then a hidden part of the wall moved slightly, revealing a narrow crack. Mira could see something glimmering inside like metal reflecting light. She tried to open it wider, but it did not move further. Maybe it was locked from the other side. She sighed and turned back toward Lila. "We can come back later. It's not safe to stay here for too long." As they climbed back up, Mira could not stop thinking about the strange symbols and the notebook's message. What was the heart chamber? What did Elias mean by protecting something dangerous? When they returned to the house, the sky had started to turn gray. Clouds gathered above and the wind grew stronger. Mira felt uneasy, as if the island was changing with the weather. She placed the notebook and the map on the table again. Lila went to play with her drawings near the fireplace. Suddenly, a knock echoed through the door. Mira froze. No one was supposed to be on the island. She walked slowly toward the entrance and opened it a little. A man stood outside wearing an old coat and holding a walking stick. His beard was white and his eyes looked tired but kind. "Good evening," he said. "I hope I am not disturbing you. My name is Rowan. I used to take care of this island long ago." Mira stared at him in surprise. "You lived here?" He nodded. "Many years ago. I worked for Elias Marin before he passed away. I stayed in the caretaker's hut near the shore. When I heard someone inherited the island, I came to see who it was." Mira stepped aside to let him in. The man walked slowly and looked around the house as if remembering old times. He stopped in front of Elias's portrait and sighed. He was a good man, but he carried heavy secrets. "This island was his life's work," Mira asked softly. "Do you know anything about the notebook or the tunnels?" Rowan looked at her sharply. "So you found them," Mira nodded. "Yes, under the floorboard and near the forest." He sat down and placed his walking stick beside him. "Then you must be careful. Elias always believed the island had something ancient buried beneath it. He called it the heart of the island. He said it could change the future of anyone who found it. But he also said that if used wrongly, it could destroy everything." Mira listened closely. "What is it exactly?" Rowan shook his head slowly. "No one knows. Some say it's a source of energy. Others think it's something living. Elias never told anyone the full truth. He only said that the island would reveal its secret to the one it accepts." The wind outside howled and the windows rattled. Mira felt a chill down her spine. She looked at Lila, who was still drawing quietly, unaware of the danger hidden beneath their feet. Rowan stood and looked at Mira with serious eyes. "Be careful, Mrs. Mira, the island watches. Once it accepts you, it will test you. Remember that everything here happens for a reason." As night fell, the old man left, promising to return in the morning. Mira closed the door and leaned against it, trying to calm her racing heart. She turned to the notebook again, reading one last line she had missed before. The heir must face the island's trial to uncover the truth. She looked at Lila, who smiled sweetly without worry. Mira whispered to herself, "If there is a trial, I will face it." For her. The sea roared outside, and somewhere deep beneath the island something ancient seemed to stir. The next morning was cloudy and calm. The sea looked silver under the dull light. Mira stood outside the old house watching the horizon. She could not stop thinking about what Rowan had told her. His words about the heart of the island kept echoing in her mind. She knew there was more hidden beneath the ground, but she was not sure if she was ready to face it. Inside, Lila was playing with shells she had collected from the shore. She was happy and full of life, unaware of how serious things had become. Mira smiled softly at her daughter, then turned her eyes toward the forest. The notebook still lay open on the table, and one page seemed to catch the wind again and again as if calling her to read it. She walked over and placed her hand on it. This time she noticed something she had missed before. There was a small sketch of the same stone in the forest and an arrow pointing to another place marked with a red X. Under the drawing were the words, "The second gate lies where the sea meets the rock." Mira realized that Elias Marin had left clues hidden across the island. Maybe these clues were part of the trial. She remembered Rowan's warning, but also knew she could not ignore the mystery any longer. If the island had chosen her, she had to understand why. After breakfast, she packed a small bag again with a flashlight, water, and the notebook. Lila followed her eagerly, holding her small backpack. Mira hesitated for a moment. "Lila, maybe you should stay here. It might be dangerous near the rocks." Lila shook her head quickly. "No, Mama, I want to come. I'm brave." Mira smiled at her daughter's courage and finally agreed. Together they walked down the hill toward the western shore. The path was rough and narrow, filled with wild plants and fallen branches. The sound of waves grew louder as they approached the edge. When they reached the shore, the view was breathtaking. Tall cliffs surrounded a small cove, and the water crashed against black rocks below. Mira followed the map carefully. The mark with the red X seemed to be near a large rock that stood close to the waterline. As they got closer, Mira noticed carvings on the side of the rock hidden by seaweed. She brushed it aside and found the same symbol again, the sun with lines around it. This time there was a circular hole in the middle of the carving. It looked like something was meant to fit inside. Mira checked the items in her bag and remembered the old key the lawyer had given her along with the island papers. She pulled it out and looked at it closely. It was not an ordinary key but a metal disc with strange marks. When she placed it into the hole, it fit perfectly. The rock trembled lightly and a small section of the ground beside it slid open, revealing a hidden passage that led downward into darkness. The air that came from below was cold and smelled of salt and earth. Lila held her mother's hand tightly. "Mama, are we going down there?" she asked softly. "Yes," Mira said. "But stay close to me and do not touch anything." They stepped inside the passage. The walls were damp, and the sound of dripping water echoed around them. The flashlight flickered, casting long shadows. The tunnel went deeper until it opened into a wide chamber filled with stone pillars. The air was thick and quiet. In the center of the room was a pedestal with another metal plate on top. Strange writing covered its surface. Mira approached carefully and placed the flashlight on a nearby rock. She brushed the dust away and tried to read the words, but they were in an unknown language. Suddenly, the ground shook gently. The plate began to glow with a soft blue light. Lila gasped and stepped back. Mira reached out her hand, but before she could touch it, a voice echoed in the chamber. It was soft and deep, like the sound of the sea. "You are the heir of the island. To protect what lies beneath, you must prove your heart is pure." Mira froze. The voice did not sound human, but it was not frightening. It was calm, almost kind. The blue light spread across the walls, revealing more carvings. They showed scenes of people working together, planting trees and building the house above. Then the scenes changed to storms, fire, and destruction. The voice spoke again. "Elias failed to complete the trial. He guarded the island but never faced its truth. Now it falls to you." Mira felt a chill run down her spine. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice shaking. "I am the island," the voice answered. "I have waited for you. You carry his blood, but your heart will decide if this land survives." The light grew brighter for a moment, then faded away. The room fell silent again, leaving Mira and Lila standing in the darkness. Lila looked frightened, but Mira held her close. "It's all right, sweetheart. We'll go back now." They climbed out of the tunnel and stepped into the fresh air again. The waves crashed harder against the rocks and thunder rolled in the distance. A storm was forming. They hurried back to the house as the wind began to rise. By the time they reached the door, rain was pouring heavily. Mira closed all the windows and lit candles. The storm howled outside and the sea's roar filled the night. Lila sat wrapped in a blanket while Mira tried to calm her down with stories. Hours passed before the storm finally began to fade. Mira went to check the front door, but as she opened it, she noticed something lying on the doorstep. It was a small wooden box tied with a piece of rope. She picked it up and carried it inside. When she opened it, she found a folded note and an old silver locket inside. The note had only a few words written in neat handwriting. "Do not fear the trial. Trust the island and it will guide you." The writing looked familiar. It was the same as in the notebook. Mira turned the locket in her hand and noticed that it had the same sun symbol engraved on it. She opened it and saw a small picture of a woman holding a baby. Her breath caught in her throat. The woman looked almost like her. On the other side of the locket, there was another small picture of Elias Marin. Lila looked at it too. "Mama, that baby looks like you," she said softly. Mira felt her heart beat faster. Could it be true that Elias was not just a distant relative but someone closer, maybe even her grandfather? The thought filled her with both warmth and confusion. She placed the locket around her neck and held the notebook again. There was one last page at the end that she had not read. When she turned to it, she found a single sentence written clearly. When the storm comes, the heart awakens beneath the house. Mira looked up, realizing that the storm outside might not have been just a normal one. It was part of the island's trial. Maybe something had changed beneath them. She told Lila to stay close and went down to the basement with a lantern. The floorboards still looked uneven, and she noticed a faint light shining through the cracks. She knelt down and pulled the loose board again. This time the light was brighter, glowing softly like the sea under the moon. Beneath the floor was another door made of stone, carved with the same symbols. It pulsed with blue light, matching the glow she had seen in the tunnel earlier. Mira reached out her hand and felt warmth instead of cold. The door opened slightly and a rush of air swept through the basement. The lantern flickered and she heard the same voice again, whispering, "The heart is ready. The trial begins now." Mira stood frozen, her hand trembling as she held the light. Lila called out from upstairs, "Mama, are you okay?" Mira looked up toward her daughter's voice and said calmly, "Yes, I'm fine. Stay there, my love." She turned back to the glowing door, knowing that whatever lay beyond it would change everything. The basement was quiet except for the sound of Mira's breathing. The glowing door pulsed softly and she could feel warmth coming from beneath it. She held the lantern tightly and stepped closer. Her heart raced, but she knew she could not turn back now. The island had chosen her, and the trial had begun. Carefully, she pushed the stone door open. Beyond it was a long hallway carved into the rock, lined with strange symbols that glowed faintly. The air smelled of earth and salt, and the faint sound of water echoed somewhere far away. Mira held her lantern high and began walking down the hallway. After several minutes, the passage widened into a large chamber. Water flowed gently along the floor, reflecting the soft blue light from the walls. In the center of the chamber was a large stone pedestal, with a carved depression in the shape of the sun symbol. The pedestal pulsed as if alive. Mira felt drawn toward it, her steps careful and slow. She remembered the locket around her neck. The sun symbol on it shone faintly, matching the glowing shape on the pedestal. Mira placed the locket into the indentation. Instantly, the pedestal lit up fully, casting light throughout the chamber. The water on the floor shimmered and she felt warmth surround her. A soft voice echoed through the chamber. "You have come, the heir. Only one with courage and love may enter the heart of the island. Do you accept the responsibility?" Mira took a deep breath. "I accept. I will protect this place and its secrets." The water began to swirl gently around the pedestal, and the ground trembled slightly. A hidden staircase emerged from beneath the water, leading downward. Mira held the lantern and stepped carefully onto the stairs. Lila's worried voice came to her mind, and she whispered, "Stay close to the island, and I will stay close to you." The stairs descended into a cavern filled with natural light that seemed to come from the walls themselves. Crystals embedded in the rock reflected colors she had never seen before, painting the chamber with soft pinks, blues, and greens. The water flowed in small streams, and the sound of a gentle waterfall echoed in the distance. Mira walked further into the cavern and finally reached a circular chamber. In the center, there was a pool of clear water, glowing with a warm golden light. She felt a pull in her chest, a gentle tug that made her step closer. The water seemed alive, shimmering as if it were breathing. The voice spoke again, soft and calm. "This is the heart of the island. It carries the memory and energy of all who lived here. To become its guardian, you must prove the strength of your heart and the depth of your love." Mira looked at the pool and felt an unusual emotion. She thought of Lila, of all the hardships they had faced together, and of the life she wanted to give her daughter. She knelt beside the water and touched it with her hand. The golden light spread over her fingers and up her arm, filling her with warmth and clarity. Suddenly, images appeared in the water. She saw the island as it had been many years ago, green and full of life, with people tending to plants, caring for animals, and building the first stone house. Then she saw storms, fire, and destruction caused by those who had tried to take the island for themselves. The heart of the island recorded every memory, every choice, and every act of care or harm. Mira realized that the island was not just a place but a living memory. It remembered the love and care of those who had protected it, and the harm caused by greed and neglect. She understood now why Elias Marin had guarded it so carefully. The water shimmered and showed her one last image, a little girl holding her mother's hand, smiling despite all difficulties. Mira's heart swelled with emotion. She knew that this little girl represented hope and the future. The island wanted someone who could protect that hope, just as she had protected Lila. The voice spoke one final time. "You have shown love, courage, and care. You are accepted as the guardian of the heart of the island. Its secrets and energy will now be yours to protect. Use them wisely, and the island will flourish." The golden light grew stronger for a moment, then faded. Mira stood, feeling a deep sense of peace and connection. The warmth from the pool remained in her chest. She knew that the island had chosen her, not only for her bloodline but because of her heart. As she turned to leave, she heard a soft giggle. She looked up and saw Lila standing at the entrance of the chamber. "Mama, you're glowing," she said, eyes wide with wonder. Mira smiled and held her daughter close. "It's the island's way of saying it trusts us, Lila. We have to protect it together." The journey back up the stairs felt different. The air was lighter, and the glow from the walls guided their way. When they reached the basement, Mira carefully replaced the floorboard over the hidden door. The glow faded completely, leaving the house silent once more. Outside, the storm had passed, and the sky was clear with the sun shining brightly. Birds returned to the trees, and the sound of the sea was calm and peaceful. Mira stepped onto the hill and looked at the island surrounding her. It felt alive, not only in its plants and rocks, but in its memory, energy, and care. Lila ran to the shore, picking up shells and laughing. Mira watched her daughter and felt hope for the future. The island had given them a new beginning, a place where they could live safely and discover life's wonders together. That evening, Rowan returned as promised. He smiled when he saw Mira and Lila. "You faced the trial and were accepted," he said softly. "The island has chosen you. I knew it would, but seeing it happen is extraordinary." Mira nodded, still feeling the warmth of the heart of the island within her. "I understand now. This island is more than land and stones. It remembers, protects, and teaches. I will do everything to keep it safe." Rowan placed his hand gently on hers. "Then it is in good hands. Remember, it will guide you, but your choices and care will shape its future." Mira looked at her daughter again. Lila's smile and trust gave her courage. Together they would protect the island, discover its wonders, and live peacefully in the place that had chosen them. As night fell, the house felt warm and safe. The sea whispered against the shore, and the stars reflected on the calm water. Mira and Lila sat by the fireplace reading Elias Marin's notebook together. Each word now felt like a key to understanding, not a mystery to fear. The island had revealed its secret, but it was only the beginning. Many adventures, discoveries, and lessons awaited them. Mira held Lila close and whispered softly, "We are ready, my love. The island is ours to protect and cherish." Outside, the wind blew gently through the trees. Somewhere deep beneath the house, the heart of the island pulsed with light, alive and watching over them. Mira knew that the bond they had formed with the island would never break. For the first time in years, she felt completely at peace. The inheritance that had seemed so strange and uncertain had turned into a life full of possibilities, love, and hope. The island was no longer abandoned. It had found its guardians. The morning after the trial, the island felt alive and welcoming. The sun shone warmly on the trees and the sea sparkled under its light. Mira and Lila stepped outside the old house, breathing in the fresh air. The storm from the previous night had cleared away dust and leaves, leaving the island brighter than ever. Mira felt a deep connection to the land now. She understood that the island was not just a home, but a living presence that remembered all who had cared for it. Lila ran ahead to the shoreline, collecting shells and examining small crabs scuttling across the sand. Mira smiled, remembering how hesitant she had been when they first arrived. The place that had seemed mysterious and frightening now felt safe and full of wonder. After breakfast, Mira decided it was time to explore more of the island. The notebook had hinted at other areas of interest, and she wanted to learn everything Elias Marin had left behind. Lila grabbed a small backpack, and together they walked through the forest toward the northern cliffs. The trees were tall and strong, and birds sang in the branches above. The path was clear, though narrow, and the forest seemed to guide them. After a short walk, they reached a hidden cove. The waves lapped gently against the rocks and the sand was soft under their feet. At the center of the cove was a stone arch partially covered with moss. Mira recognized it immediately from the sketches in Elias's notebook. The symbols carved into the arch glowed faintly in the sunlight, the same pattern that had marked the tunnels in the heart of the island. Lila jumped up and down. "Mama, look! It's magical!" Mira approached the arch carefully. She touched the carvings and felt a slight vibration. Her heart raced as she realized this was another part of the island's secret. The notebook had described this place as the Guardian's Gate, a location where the true history of the island could be revealed. As she studied the carvings, a section of the stone shifted slightly. A small panel opened, revealing a hollow space. Inside, Mira found a collection of objects: an old compass, a bundle of letters tied with ribbon, and a small wooden chest. She lifted the letters carefully, feeling the weight of the past in her hands. The first letter was addressed to her by Elias Marin. He wrote about his life on the island, his love for its beauty, and his desire to protect it from those who might take it for selfish reasons. The letter explained that the heart of the island was a source of knowledge and energy, connected to the memories of every person who had lived there. Only someone pure of heart and devoted to caring for others could access its full power. Mira's eyes filled with tears. Elias had trusted her without even meeting her. She looked at Lila and realized that this bond extended to her daughter as well. The island had chosen them because of the love and care they shared, not only for each other but for all living things. The next letter contained a map and instructions. It described the locations of hidden gardens, freshwater springs, and secret pathways that led to breathtaking viewpoints. Elias had created the island as a sanctuary, a place of life and learning. He had left it not just as a gift but as a responsibility. The small wooden chest was heavier than she expected. Mira opened it carefully and found a set of tools, a key made of silver and a small golden medallion engraved with the sun symbol. Along with them was a note. "These are for the Guardian. Use them with care and they will help you protect the island." Lila picked up the medallion and held it in her small hands. "Mama, it's beautiful. Can I keep it?" Mira smiled. "Yes, sweetheart. It belongs to both of us now." She placed the medallion around Lila's neck. The sunlight reflected off it, creating tiny sparkles that danced on the sand. With their discoveries, Mira felt a sense of purpose stronger than ever. She understood that the trial had not been about danger or fear, but about love, courage, and care. She knew that the island had tested her heart and found her worthy. They spent the afternoon exploring the hidden pathways Elias had described. They found a small garden filled with vibrant flowers and fruit trees, a freshwater spring where crystal-clear water bubbled up from the ground, and a cliff that offered a breathtaking view of the sea. Each discovery felt magical, as if the island was revealing its wonders to them because it trusted them. As the sun began to set, Mira and Lila returned to the house. The sky was painted in shades of pink and gold, and the water shimmered like glass. Mira placed the notebook, letters, and medallion on the table. She felt a deep sense of peace. The island was no longer abandoned. It was alive, full of memories and possibilities. That evening, Rowan returned once more. He had brought a small bundle of supplies and food for them. He smiled as he saw Mira and Lila. "I see the island has welcomed you," he said softly. "It trusts you, and so do I. You are ready to care for it fully." Mira nodded, feeling a sense of gratitude. "Thank you, Rowan. We have learned so much, and we understand what we must do now." Rowan looked around the house and nodded. "The island will guide you. Remember, every choice you make affects it. Protect it, nurture it, and it will thrive." As night fell, Mira and Lila sat by the fireplace. The candles flickered softly, casting warm light across the room. Lila leaned her head on her mother's shoulder. "Mama, do you think we will have adventures here too?" Mira smiled. "Yes, my love. This island is full of adventures, but the best part is that we will face them together." They talked late into the night about the places they wanted to explore, the animals they might meet, and the secrets they would uncover. Mira felt hope for the future stronger than ever. The island had given them a new life, full of wonder and love. In the quiet darkness, Mira placed her hand on Lila's. "The island has chosen us, and now we must choose it as well. We will protect it, care for it, and keep its heart safe." Lila smiled sleepily. "I will, Mama, I promise." Outside, the wind blew softly through the trees. The sea reflected the moonlight, calm and gentle. Somewhere deep beneath the house, the heart of the island pulsed quietly, alive and content. It had found guardians worthy of its secret, and through Mira and Lila, it would continue to flourish. The next morning, Mira woke early to the sound of birdsong. She stepped outside and looked across the island. Every tree, rock, and wave seemed to glow with life. She knew that they were part of something extraordinary, something that connected the past, present, and future. Mira thought of the journey they had begun only days ago. From receiving the letter to facing the trial, every moment had led them here. She knew that life would be different now. The island was not just a home, but a responsibility and a promise. She smiled at Lila, who was already exploring the flowers near the house. "Come on, my love. Let's see what new secrets the island has for us today." Together, they walked toward the forest, ready to explore every hidden path and discover every secret. The heart of the island pulsed beneath their feet, alive and watching, guiding them into a future full of love, adventure, and wonder. The island was no longer abandoned. It had chosen its guardians, and Mira and Lila had found their place within its heart.